Hello and welcome to this evening's Fort Wayne Community School Board of Trustees meeting. Since we have no speakers, we will begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have our roll call of members.
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Jennifer Mathias, District 2. Good evening, Ann Duff, Member at Large.
Noah Smith, District 3.
We have Dr. Mark Daniel, Superintendent, and Angela Filler, Clerk of the Board, and I am Riley Booker, Representative for District 4. I am sitting in for our Board President, Maria Norman, who is ill tonight. Maria, we hope that you're getting rest and that you'll be back for our next meeting. We are going to move on to awards and recognitions. In celebration of the National Public Schools Week, we are here to watch a video highlighting the great work being done every day in our schools. All right, next we move on to our consent agenda. And under the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes for our regular meeting, February 12th, 2024, vouchers for the period ending February 26th, 2024, and payroll for the period ending February 9th, 2024, in addition to the personnel report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Steve. Any questions? Any comments, Dr. Daniel?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have no new business or no old business, so we're going to move on to new business. And that is Cable Fund Access Board. Steve, do you mind reading that for us?
Got it. It's recommended, excuse me, let me go to the next page. It is recommended the board approve the Cable Fund Access Board originator grant from the City of Fort Wayne. The City of Fort Wayne provides grants for the operation of the cable access stations, which includes centers at the Allen County Public Library, Purdue Fort Wayne, government access and LTV at Anthus Career Center as well. Grants are given with the stipulation that all access centers will provide training equipment and facilities to nonprofits wishing to produce programming that will air on one of the access channels. The monetary amount granted is based upon a percentage of active subscribers to Comcast and Frontier Communications. The amount for 2023 is $144,641.74. LTV is operated by the school district, serving as the K-12 educational access channel for the entire city. The primary purpose of the cable fund is to enhance public, educational, and government access television within the city of Fort Wayne through the effective use of cable television franchise fee receipts. And Tim Moriarty, who is our LTV coordinator, is here if we have questions about this grant.
To have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you, and thank you, Noah.
I have one question. So Tim, if I am not a cable subscriber, hypothetically,
Okay,
so is there any way I can watch?
well, sure, we stream. the-
So I stream
Yeah,
on our YouTube channel?
yeah.
I mean, how do I watch it?
On TV, or
Yeah,
you can stream it through YouTube on your TV or laptop or whatever, yeah.
okay,
But there is no on-air, it doesn't go over air like a Wayne TV would or WPTA or.
right,
one
right,
of
so
those.
not
It
by
is-
antenna,
Correct,
Would
it
I-
is strictly through cable lines.
okay. Okay,
And Tim, do you know, I know we've talked a little bit about this before, it's more beneficial for people to watch our magnificent programming through these two, so to speak, pipelines of Comcast and Frontier, I presume because they're the legacy providers of cable and.
They are
TV.
the only cable
Is
provider.
Verizon or other?
Verizon, Frontier is Verizon. Frontier took over for Verizon years ago.
But I know some of the phone systems are having, get your Wi-Fi through us now and do that at home. And I don't know where this comes from, but is there any talk of spreading the love amongst these providers, so to speak? so that we-
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Recently, the city did pass a new ordinance that kind of redoes how we're funded. So as we see cable subscribers go down,
Right,
hopefully the way the new funding will keep the money generated for the next, they've made an ordinance for the next 10 years.
so that's driven by the city?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? All right, we can go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move on to Cable Fund Access Board, non-originator grants for 2023-24. Julie, please.
yep. It's recommended that the board approve the Cable Fund Access Board non-originator grants from the city of Fort Wayne for a total of $58,169.56. The city of Fort Wayne provides grants for nonprofit organizations within the city through CFAB. Grants are given to nonprofits with the understanding that the organizations will provide programming to one of Fort Wayne's cable access stations, including LTV. Grants cover some equipment costs for the schools. In 2023, Fort Wayne Community Schools was notified of the award, with the grant being received in January of 2024. Awarded amounts are in various amounts to IT Academy at Anthus, Blackhawk Middle School, Miami Middle School, Northside High School, Northwood Middle School, Portage Middle School, Snyder High School, and Southside High School. And Tim is still available to answer any questions.
All right, can I get a motion?
And make that motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? If there are no questions, we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? All right, that carries. Jen?
It is recommended that certain checks be removed from the record of outstanding warrants. A complete listing is below. Indiana Code 51110.5-2 states that all checks drawn on public funds of a political subdivision of the state of Indiana that are outstanding and unpaid for a period of 2 or more years as of the last day of December of each year are considered void. Attempts are made to notify all persons or vendors who have outstanding checks valued at $10 or more. Rosie will be here, our Chief Financial Officer, and is available for questions, and there is a complete list of all outstanding warrants.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just a comment, the largest check never cashed was to Fort Wayne Newspapers, Ashley Sloboda, $454.17.
Check your sock drawer.
Approve it quickly.
How's that happen?
They just didn't cash it. And we try to reach out and
Yeah.
no response.
So to be clear, when we approve our minutes next meeting, this will become public, right? So anybody who wants to see that their name may be on here, and this time I don't recognize anybody's names personally, but I have in the past, go check our meeting minutes and see if your name's on here, huh?
What's that website in Indiana that has
Unclaimed.
Unclaimed.
unclaimed? Does this go on that?
Not to my
It's to
knowledge.
the state.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's that?
those are checks to the state.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, if there are no more comments or questions, then move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next we have our public hearing and resolution to dispose of former South Transportation Center 2024. It is recommended that the board conduct a public hearing regarding the disposal of real estate consisting of the former Transportation Center site containing 8.53 acres. It is further recommended that the board approve a resolution authorizing the disposal of the aforementioned real estate. South Transportation Center, located at 6006 Ardmore Avenue, was closed as a transportation center at the end of the 22-23 academic school year due to consolidation. It is now no longer needed and classified as surplus land. Rosie Shipman, Chief Financial Officer, David Amin, General Counsel, and Renee Dawson, Director of Transportation, are available to answer questions. To dispose of the property, a public hearing is required pursuant to IC 5-3-1-2 and IC 36-1-11-3. This is the appropriate time for members of the public to address the board. If anyone here would like to comment, please come to the microphone. We ask speakers to limit remarks to 3 minutes or less. All right, as there is no one who wishes to speak, the hearing is now closed. I just need a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, as there are no questions, we can move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And would you take Literacy Achievement Grant?
Sure.
Thank you.
It is recommended that the board approve the acceptance of the Literacy Achievement Grant from the Indiana Department of Education in the amount of $209,419.30 to support the statewide goal of ensuring 95% of Indiana's third grade students pass IREAD 3 by 2027. IDOE's Early Literacy Achievement Grant will award funds to Indiana public school corporations and charter schools to support early literacy efforts. The funds will be allocated to award stipends for teachers, instructional coaches, and other school staff responsible for the implementation and delivery of literacy and reading instruction through third grade. And Dr. Joe Brown, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, and Rosie Shipman, our Chief Financial Officer, are available to answer our questions.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
So, Dr. Brown, so how many staff members will be eligible for?
Yeah, so we have been working through the spreadsheet that Jack gave us with employees that we started with that meet that criteria. I believe we're right around 850 staff members.
850. So that's maybe 200, 225 apiece, something like that.
I think we just calculated 245 before anything's taken out.
The state's really serious.
All right. Any more questions? Okay, then move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Noah?
It is recommended the board appoint Tim Graham to replace Janae Johnson on the scholarship committee. Jennifer Mathias nominated Ms. Johnson to serve on the scholarship committee, and Tim Graham will fill her vacancy created by her resignation. Sheena Bolton, Executive Director of College Career Readiness, will answer any questions along with David Elman. I'm happy to read this on behalf of Jennifer and our pastor, Pastor Tim Graham. I'm excited about his joining.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
No, I just want to make a kind of a clarification. I think I kind of did the last one is, it is exciting that, although we don't want to always fill positions, but it is exciting the reason why we're filling this position. It's because Ms. Johnson had taken a position with our district, and I believe she's at Snyder High School. She served our community and our committee well, as she was a scholarship winner herself. And I knew that when I appointed her to that position. So I think she did a fabulous job, and I'm excited for my new appointee, Pastor Tim Graham, to replace her. And that's it.
All right, thank you. We can move to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that concludes our new business, and we can move on to reports. We will receive an overview of the Transportation Department's achievements and initiatives throughout the school year. Valuable insights will be provided into the challenges faced and the successful strategies implemented to ensure the transportation of our students. Additionally, outlines will be shared regarding the exciting plans and the projects that lie ahead for the department, including improvements of bus routes, the implementation of new technologies, and enhanced safety features. Renee Dawson, Director of Transportation, is here to present and answer any questions.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's been an exciting year at Transportation. I'm excited to share with you what we've been up to. Hold on, somebody's got to tell me how to use the clicker. Okay. I thought I'd take you through what we've done, where we're at, and where we're going. I took the position, stepped into this position in May of '22. So just a quick history tour of what we've been doing since that time, where we're at now, and what we're looking at as we move forward. When I took the position in spring of 2022, some of the big objectives or goals that we had when I sat down and talked with Dr. Daniel and some other staff members was that we needed to look at the size of our bus fleet and realign that to better meet our driver numbers, update the department technology that would include a student ridership program, combine transportation centers and reevaluate and realign the office and garage staff positions, and provide transportation solutions for our growing McKinney-Vento population, and then the most important, attract and retain bus drivers. So I'm going to walk you through each of those goals that we had. In May of 2022, we had 361 yellow buses in our bus fleet. In January of 2023, we reduced that fleet by selling 62 buses for a revenue of $590,300 that went back into the general fund. We then took another look at our fleet and decided that we could reduce by 23 more buses for another revenue income of $256,100 back to the general fund. We had purchased 10 Type A yellow buses, which are the small 14-passenger buses. If you've seen a white activity bus, they're exactly like that in size. However, they're yellow with stop arms, and we can use them to transport students to and from school. We affectionately call them a baby bus in our department. So we were able to take some of the equipment from the buses that we sold to put stop arms or to put cameras and radios in those yellow buses, reducing the invoice of that purchase by $82,825, about 10% of that original quote for those 10 baby buses by repurposing some of our equipment. So today we have 175 total yellow buses in our bus fleet. And this aligns well with right now, we just went through the numbers today, we have 118 bus drivers, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward. Examples of some unrealized savings that I don't have exact numbers for you, but vehicle insurance is a savings, vehicle maintenance is a savings, required inventory for parts for buses because our buses are on the newer side of that 12-year rotation and more like in make and model so that our parts inventory is not as great, saving some money there. And then our bus replacement cost in 2024, we're not buying any buses, and that was slated at $1.5 million for this year. So we were able to say, hey, we don't have the need for that and put those funds somewhere else. So that's what we did with our bus fleet. Technology updates, we're working on the implementation of a new routing software. We had VersaTrans routing and planning, which is about a 20-year-old technology in routing, and we're now right in the middle of up to our necks in converting to their new web-based software, Transversa Student Transportation, that'll allow routing will be easier. We'll be able to do it from anywhere. We'll have better access to the student records, and it'll streamline that process and pair well with our onboard tablets that we're also working with right now. So onboard technologies, our buses have camera systems. We inspected and updated all of those camera systems, made sure the cameras were working, updated any firmware, made sure our DVRs were working, went through every one of our buses to make sure that that equipment was at the standard we needed it to be. Two-way radio systems in all of our buses. Did, again, a software update. Our vendor helped us with purchase of the appropriate dispatch equipment. We were able to upgrade that and then work through and eliminate and replace any faulty equipment. And again, we were able to repurpose some of the cameras and radios that we took out of the buses that we sold. And so really our only cost in the camera and radio upgrades was our vendor's time to come and inspect and go through each bus and help us swap that equipment in and out. Right now, we're piloting a driver tablet, onboard tablet, so that we hope to have those in every bus. Here in the near future, we do need that software update. We need to get that new routing software in place and using it for it to be a really good match with those tablets. I drove a bus route this morning with a tablet, onboard tablet, no paper in my hand, no lefts or rights. That tablet took me right through the route, no problem. So that has been a game changer for our sub drivers, or if we have someone out on the road and we need to help with a route, instead of faxing a route to a school building for them to go get it, we can just say, hey, plug in route 123, go to stop 4 and start there. And they can just plug that right in.
I have a question about the tablets. Is that only then for the routes? I think it seems like we had talked about students swiping in on a
Correct.
tablet at some.
No, it'll do all of those. Step 1 of that phase is get them in drivers' hands on their buses. We have mounts for them on every bus, and they plug in. And step 1 is just learning how to operate them, use them for bus directions. Then student ridership would be another phase in that, where students would have a swipe card, much like our IDs, where they just tap it, it's an RFID, and it would account for them on the bus. Right now, some of our SPED buses are using them for our Medicaid reimbursement, Medicare reimbursement, and drivers are accounting for the students that they're transporting so that electronically we can file for that reimbursement versus the paper and pencil way that we were doing that. So those are some benefits of that. That tablet will do all of that. It's not a GPS for me to get from here to Indianapolis. You know, it's not where I can plug in for a field trip and get from here to another town. It's strictly surrounding our county and the roads that we travel the most often, and then our routes. And if we update a route right now, it takes about 10 minutes for it to update in a tablet, to push to the tablet. So that's been again, a game changer. To be able to hop in a route at the last minute this morning because we had a last minute vacancy and just drive through that seamlessly, the safety is so improved and the efficiency is so improved.
So will the student part be in next step?
Yes. So the software, the new software is where we have to get that implemented and get good at using that so that the student information is paired well. The older software works with the tablets like we're seeing right now, but it's not as, it doesn't marry as well together. So in order for that program to be successful, we want to get our software in place and then move to the ridership. And then we're working with the security department, our security department, on if kids have IDs, then it needs to meet everybody's needs, cafeteria, high school, library, bus, and so what's that look like? So we'll be piloting a program, or piloting with at least one school, hopefully after spring break. Right now, we're just at the mercy of our vendor to help us get that software implemented. But it's very user-friendly. I think our training curve will be very little. There are a lot of similarities, but a lot of things will just be much easier when routing the students.
Thank you.
We have 50 buses that are equipped with stop-arm cameras. So all of those cameras were gone through again with our vendor to make sure that they were working, and any needed replacements were done over Christmas break of just this last year. The other technology update that we're working on, actually it's done, is an electronic bus request form. So instead of the paper pencil that if a student needed a bus when they registered or their address changed or they had to go to school and fill out a piece of paper or call us, we now have a QR code that families can scan. It takes them right to an electronic version of that after they fill it out and say, my student, we now live at this address and we need a bus and we're at this school, it gets delivered to us electronically. So we think that will be much more efficient for us, especially rolling into the new school year.
And the QR code is just something that the school would provide to the families?
Yes,
Okay.
we've worked with FACE. FACE has it right now, and we're using that. We, again, in the early stages of that, using it for families that are coming into our district or have a change right now, and it seems to be working great. So we're excited to have that in place for school registration or the summer. I think that'll be much better than secretaries taking that paper and pencil and having to fax it or scan it. It'll just, so we're excited about that. We combine transportation centers, as we talked about in the earlier agenda point. Some of the savings or benefits of that was, the district can decide what they're going to do with that building and to utilize that. The utilities and maintenance, we have cost savings on that. Our fuel islands, the fuel tanks. We're repurposing the new bus wash that was just purchased at South Transportation, and our maintenance and op team is moving that to our North Transportation over spring break. So that'll prevent us from having to buy a new bus wash at North Transportation because it much needs replaced badly. So drivers are excited about that. By combining centers, we need 50% less office and garage inventories. So not only do we need less parts because our buses are more similar in make, model, and year, but because we only have one garage, we only need 50% of the parts. Now our vendors are fussing at me like, Renee, hey, you're not buying as much stuff, but that's okay. That tells me it's working. And then we were able to reduce our office and garage staff by 12 allocations by combining the two centers. And then the big one, attract and retain bus drivers. Number of bus drivers for previous school years at the start of school. Jack helped me with these numbers. In 21-22, we started the school year with 97 bus drivers, 3 of them on sick leave, so 94 on the road. 22-23, we increased that number to 103, so we increased it by 5 drivers. And then 23-24, we were at 106. So that was only adding 3 or 5 drivers an entire school year. So we took a look at what's that recruitment process look like, what's that training process look like, how can we improve that? So today, so we started this school year with 106 bus drivers, 3 on sick leave, so 103 on the road. Today we have 118 drivers with 2 on sick leave and 116 on the road. We have another driver that will, just side note, be taking his CDL next week, so we'll be at 119. We have 6 trainees in our baby bus program. We're using those buses that I spoke about earlier, the smaller buses, for people who are training to get their CDL. They can drive baby bus morning and night, help us serve some students and fill in some gaps, get some experience, earn money, and then they're training in between to get their CDL. So we have 6 in that program right now, 2 more starting, 1 tomorrow and 1 on Wednesday, so we'll be at 8. We have 3 candidates in the hiring process with license and endorsement, 6 with CDL no endorsement, so they'll need a little bit of training and some testing. 3 candidates in the hiring process that need the complete training, so they'll also work in that baby bus training program. We've got 6 substitute drivers, so total new this year, so this far we've got 17 new drivers who we've hired and are still working for us. Yes, ma'am.
Just out of curiosity, Renee, if you already have a CDL, what endorsements do you need to drive?
So in the state of Indiana, you have to have a passenger endorsement and a school bus endorsement.
Okay.
So if you drive a dump truck, you probably you got air brakes and, whatever you needed for dump truck. So we have to help them get that passenger endorsement and that school bus endorsement. And then you also need a state-issued yellow card. So it's a safety course and learning program, 3-day class that the Department of Ed Transportation Director has in place. So it's just a smaller training process, but they still are missing some pieces.
Right.
But it's usually a pretty quick process because they've been through that CDL testing pre-trip but they probably did it on a dump truck or a semi, and we're just going to teach them how to do it on the school bus. So,
Irrespective of the size of the bus you drive, are you paid the same amount of money?
So a baby bus, if you're in the training program, and you're training and you're driving a baby bus, that is not as much as once you get your CDL and you're in a CDL required bus. So $15 for our baby bus program to start, but a driver rate, so if I take my test and I now have a CDL, that starts at $22. So it's quite a jump when you go from not having your CDL to having your CDL.
Okay.
What's the average length of time that people usually ride that if they come in without a CDL?
That just varies by the person, their learning style, how quickly they press themselves. But we're seeing 6 weeks probably is the average. You've got some people that do it quicker than that, and then we've got some that it takes a bit longer. Everybody's learning style is a little different, but I'd say you average about 6 weeks.
The numbers, having 17 new drivers this year, that's a big jump from what we've seen in the past. What do you think has been, why are we more successful this year?
Because in the past, you would not work for Fort Wayne Community Schools while you trained. There was paid training, but you might come during the day for a couple of hours or at night for a couple of hours and meet with a trainer. It was not a full-time job. By having that baby bus piece put in place, then they're working full-time. They're working on their benefits and their probation time. So it has turned into an income, a real income that you can provide for yourself and your family and start working on your benefits package and all of that. So it's much more attractive. It's hard to ask people to stop whatever other job they're doing and don't make any money and come train for us, and then we'll put you to work. So this way, and it's great experience. They're getting to work with the kids. We get to know them. They get to know us. It's been amazing. So. Hiring process changes, utilizing baby buses, as we've spoken about, to supplement the training pay. Increase in starting wages. The district stood behind us in helping work with the union to increase those driver starting wages. The district has also implemented a $5,000 hiring stipend for any new driver who has that CDL and endorsements. So far, we have 4 people that we've hired that have qualified for that stipend. In order to get that full stipend, you have to work for us for a year. You get every 9 weeks or every 3 months, you get $500 or $1,250 of that. So that's been great. So 4 people so far are working on that stipend, and we have 3 that qualify that as soon as they get in the driver's seat, get through the HR process, or finish their onboarding, that they could qualify for that as well. So far 7. We redesigned the perfect attendance bonus program. That was something that was already in place, but you had to have perfect attendance for the whole year. So we broke that down into 9 weeks, and you get you qualify by the 9 weeks, and get paid by the 9 weeks, and then it starts over. So if I get the flu this 9 weeks, I get disqualified for this 9 weeks, but I have a chance to do it again next 9 weeks. The second 9 weeks of this school year, 77 employees qualified for it, and the 9 weeks before that, 54 of our drivers qualified for that. So that's a big number. That we've really seen that drive that attendance, so that's really helped us. Holiday pay for our consistent sub-drivers, and we have our CDL training for our office and garage staff, so just like myself, if we need to fill in a vacancy, we have people in the office and garage that can step in and help cover those routes and get kids to school and reduce, routes having to be canceled. We re-implemented the employee referral program, and we met with the Fort Wayne Fire Chief and talked to him about firefighters. I was surprised to find out that you don't need a CDL to drive a fire truck. But we were able to talk with him. They've got some retirees that they're letting know about our program. And then I talk about it in a slide further in my presentation, but we're going to partner with the Safety Village to include bus evacuation and what they teach elementary kids at the Safety Village. So that'll benefit not only our kids, but surrounding districts. So really excited about partnering with them for that.
Before you go on to the next slide,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question. The complete CDL training for our office and garage staff, do you have to have a CDL to be hired in now, or do we fill a spot and then work with them?
Yes,
to
we
complete it?
will. In summer, we've been really busy this year training new drivers, which has been amazing. So we've got, this summer, we have some staff that hasn't been through that training yet that'll go through that this summer when the pace slows down a little bit. But yes, we'll help you get that. And a CDL is a great thing to have in your back pocket for retirement or supplemental income, so.
Thank you.
We also implemented or created and put into motion a McKinney-Vento fuel voucher program, partnering with Lasses BP here in Fort Wayne. If a student is in the McKinney-Vento program, the first step is to say, hey, can we bus them from their new residence or their temporary residence to the school that they attend? If we have a bus for them, a large majority of the time we can accommodate that. But there are times that we can't, and if we can't in a reasonable means, then that student might need to change schools, which is hard enough. If they're in the McKinney-Vento program, they're already experiencing some hardship, so we like to keep them at school. You can't see that quite as well, but when we started that in 22-23 for last school year, we had 74 students that participated in that, which resulted in 429 fuel vouchers. And that is a calculation we use in the partnership with BP to provide fuel vouchers to take to BP if the family has a car. We didn't have a bus for them, but they have a vehicle that they can help get that student back and forth to school, to their school of attendance, school of origin. Then we help supplement with the fuel vouchers. There are some requirements. They have to be in school, no excused absences, and then we use a formula based on how many miles is it from home to school. So the first year, last year, we had 74 students participate in that. We issued 429 vouchers. So far this year, we've got 207 students. We've issued 1,213 vouchers, and our average student is participating in that program for 5.8 weeks, so about 6 weeks that we're helping families keep their kids in their school of origin and not have to be displaced or be on a super long bus ride or a crowded bus ride. And so when in times that we couldn't help reasonably with the bus, then we say, hey, do you qualify for this program? So that's been a really great program. We were the first district in the state to implement that program, and now we have other districts that are mirroring what we're doing with their families. So route challenges and changes. We ended the school year last year with in May of 2022, we had 14 three-tier vacant routes. In May of 2023, last year, we only had 1 vacant elementary route. The bell time changes, that restructure challenged us a bit, but we started the school year with 5 vacant middle school routes and 20 what we call loops or double routes for drivers. And today we have 1 middle school route open, and actually that 12 is not right. We are down to 8 loops remaining, and those loops are getting the students to school very close to the start of school. We're next Monday, pull a couple more of them apart, and so that number just keeps getting better and better. We've added routes with our new drivers. We've added routes, additional buses at schools to improve the level of service. So an example would be that our Weiser Park bunch, Irwin and Young, at the beginning of the school year, in order to service those families, we only had 6 buses serving all 4 of those schools together. The buses would go to each school. We now have 10 buses serving those buildings, and then we divided them apart. And then all over the district have we added baby bus routes or big bus routes as we've brought on drivers. We implemented a route cancellation if we don't have enough drivers, and I'm proud to say that we've not faced that too many times this year. We do a cancellation through a rotation of the schools, and at this point, we have not had to alter any elementary routes since we started that rotation. It's just middle school and high school, and again, we've had minimal 16 different days that we've had to do that. I know that in our neighboring districts, those numbers are, in some districts, much, much higher. So as big as we are and as many students as we transport, I'm proud of that number. We do a good job. Our department does a good job of strategizing and figuring out how to get kids to school. And then we're partnering with our technology and the schools to communicate those changes to families. Parent Square is the way that parents can get that, and students can get that notification if any modification to a route's needed, whether it's canceled or it's going to be running late, unforeseen, mechanical issues, or so that parents and students know when to expect their bus to be there or to drop them off. So Parent Square, if parents are out there and you are not using Parent Square to get communication from the schools and from our department, that has been an amazing, amazing tool. So where are we going? What's on the road ahead? I would like to see us reach 150 full-time drivers. I think it's feasible that by the end of this school year, we'll be somewhere between 125 and 130. And then whatever we do over the summer, there's a need to look at adding on to North Transportation to accommodate the staff. We need some additional bathrooms, a training area, just a freshen up of the building that we're in now. We're looking forward to kicking off our student ridership program. We're enhancing, we already are doing this, but enhancing professional development for our bus drivers, our bus assistants, and our office and garage staff. That has really been a gap that we're filling as we move forward. Like to look at ways to be creative and establish summer pay for bus drivers. How do we reallocate their pay year-round? What does that look like? I'd love to purchase 10 more baby buses next calendar year. And then partner with, I already mentioned this, we're partnering with Safety Village to include bus evacuation in their training for elementary students. And we are working on CDL physicals being available at our district clinics for employees rather than having to have a contract with outside services to do that. So those are some of the highlights that are down the road for us. Appreciate everyone's support and time and the things you've done to help us be successul.
As the policymakers for this school district, do you see other school districts doing something that we're not? Do we as a board need to consider something that we're not doing now?
I would say districts that have implemented a way to make the pay more equitable throughout the year, not just for bus drivers, but for hourly employees, so that there aren't those gaps in pay, and help be more budget friendly. That's a big one that I hear a lot from my staff, and I'm sure, again, that's not just bus drivers and bus assistants. I meet with area directors once a month, and we definitely collaborate and share ideas. So a lot of what we do, if I'm doing it, then we're talking about it, and maybe they're trying it, or vice versa. So no, I think we're the only ones with the baby bus training program. Only ones. Well, there are a couple now with the McKinney-Vento voucher program. But we're really a team of transportation centers trying to work together to figure out how to meet all of our needs.
So we just need to be mindful of the fact that drivers have other employment options.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and summer is a time that they might go drive dump truck or limousine or coach bus or do something else, and then slide into something that I'm not going to come back and drive. That's a time that we will lose people. So hopefully we can help with that.
I've got to believe that once you get them in the door and start working for us, that they like what they do. Your turnover rate is very low.
Yes, we're really working on that team environment. And if you're new to our building, really making you feel like a member of our team, not a stranger. We're here for you. We're helping, we're supporting, and I think that we're, like you said, we're seeing a lower turnover, and people are really investing in making this their career.
You talked about the rise in McKinney-Vento. How big has that rise been, or how?
Well, that's
sorry if I
just
missed
in the number of students we've been able to serve with the voucher program. I think
I mean, I was talking about general, I mean, just the pure numbers of McKinney-Vento.
that actually would be something that FACE would probably be able to answer better for you. I don't want to misquote those numbers.
Do you have any sense of that?
Well, I'll try to speak for Christian. Last year, we ended the year with approximately 1,200 students, and at our holiday break, we were already at almost 1,300. So we've already exceeded last year's numbers at Christmas time. Those numbers fluctuate a little bit as students come and go. As we know, our students are very transient, but they're already over what they were
And
last
for
year.
those 10 people watching and don't know what McKinney-Vento is, could you give a brief
Sure.
overview of that?
So McKinney-Vento students are students who are displaced from their homes. They may be living in a shelter, they may be living in a hotel, they may be living with somebody else because that's their only choice. They don't get the option to, I'm staying in a hotel because I want to. No, I'm staying in a hotel because I have to. That's my only option. So those are McKinney-Vento students. They may be living out of their car. They may be staying at the bus stops at night. So any student that's misplaced out of their home.
Our most neediest.
Our most neediest.
Thank you. And then if we looked into, I think we probably talk about this at capital time in the fall or whatever, but electric vehicles or is there any, in your
Yes.
cohort of other transportation directors, is anybody making that dive into EVs or
I've not
early results or feedback?
propane. We've got districts around us that have done that. I've got some experience in that. Electric, not as many in our area. I just attended a webinar this week on it, and it feels like we've been talking about it for a long time, but it is still fairly new. So watching what that technology means to our industry and so just still getting educated in that. Right now, we don't need any big buses, but that's not saying that that's not something we would look at in the future because there's grant money for that, and there's certainly your carbon footprint is reduced and all of that. So yes, absolutely staying involved in that, staying educated about that, and then looking at those possibilities as we move forward and need to exchange our older fleet out for new buses for sure.
Thank you.
Have you seen, I think I saw something, a story on Michigan not too long ago, that there were some areas there that they were requiring their replacements would be electric. So I'm assuming that you can bring us some of that information back later. We're
Yes.
not at that point.
No, but yes. And the good news is that that trial and error of those districts and those other areas and what they're learning, they're seeing, like in the webinar, they talked about like in the colder temperature, how much does that reduce your performance and, things like that. So then in California, where it doesn't get cold, then that's a much better option because of you don't reach the colder temperatures. But the technology is changing, so as those challenges come along, they're changing the technology to better meet that. So it's a great solution, and we definitely are staying involved in that. And as we look to purchase more buses or trade ours in and get different, then that's something we absolutely should consider and make sure that we're educated on before we make those decisions, for sure. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to you and your team. I mean, this is, as we have learned, what business, and I challenge us many times, what business are we in? Are we in education? Are we in food service? Are we in transportation? Well, I have learned kids can't learn if they can't get there.
Right.
And I believe that transportation is a privilege, not a right. But I know we also have many instances where kids and families need that support. And to me, the district has been greatly challenged over Steve's tenure on the board here and the differences of what we can and can't do with transportation. So thank you to your team and your efforts, and because I know it's been hard and challenging.
Yeah, I've got a great team, and also our school building staff that have supported us, our families that have been flexible and helped us. So thank you to everyone. That's definitely been a team effort. So we're going to keep working at it. Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, we move on now to board member comments.
I wanted to congratulate the Bishop Luers girls basketball team for winning the 2A state championship over the weekend. Boys sectional play for our 5 teams begins tomorrow at East Noble and Homestead, so best wishes to our teams. I know we've got some highly spirited teams out there, and hopefully a couple of them go a ways. So best wishes to all of them.
Since this is Public Schools Week, just want to mention that, across the country and here in Indiana, 90% of students still attend public schools, even though we are, right in the middle of Choice America. But of course, public schools, traditional public schools, we accept all students. No matter your religion, your country of birth, your language, your abilities, we accept all. We accept students who may have been, for no fault of their own, dismissed from a different type of school. We would take students who might be attending a charter school and they find out that next week the school is going to close. We accept students who may be told at another school that, we don't have the right services for your child. And we accept students who may have been told that you're just not the right fit for our school. I think back, gosh, probably more than 20 years ago when charters were first sold here in Indiana. What I remember hearing is how charter schools were going to be innovative. They were not going to be restricted by, all those rules and regulations. They'd be able to innovate. But when I think of all of the innovation and the programs going on in our district, it boggles the mind. And in my experience, it seems that the biggest innovation that charter schools have had is to find a way to make a profit from taxpayers when it comes to education. But our vocational programs, our Be Instrumental program, and I'm not sure there's another school in the country that has a program that provides instruments, musical instruments to students who may not be able to afford them. AMP Lab, New Tech, our new Schools of Success and our pathways, expansion of our vocational programs. When you think of all that's offered, and co-curriculars too, and now we've got, robotics and e-gaming or, e-sports, and just the opportunities that our students have is really remarkable, and I think that is worthy of celebration. So, celebrating public schools this week.
Thank you, Julie.
As we do every week.
Every week, all the time. I'm going to kind of tie mine into that a little bit as you just heard how wonderful public schools are and all the offerings that we have. And we need leaders in our state who support our public schools and continue to support those 90+% kids that go to our schools. We're not saying that there aren't other good schools, but we do know that the large percentage of the population of Indiana attends public schools. I had a call the other day, and Ann might be able to chime in on this as well, but our election board is looking for poll workers. And it's Steve and I've had this conversation about the civic duty and getting our students out there and realizing how easy it is to vote. It's easy to vote, but you also need to inform yourself. But I think sometimes people are just afraid to go to the polls because they don't know what to do there. So what a wonderful opportunity to be a poll worker as a student in high school. So students anywhere from 16 to 18 can work the polls. There is training from the election board, and there is a small stipend. I don't know what it is I don't know exactly what it is, but there is a small stipend for actually working the polls as from the election board. So I encourage our young children out there who are attending our public schools to get civically involved and understand what's going on so that their children have a wonderful public school education as well. But we do need people to work those polls so people can vote, and we need our children to understand the voting process.
And it's an excused absence, right?
And it's an excused absence, yes. So our principals who are out there, encourage those children, those students who are interested or have some interest in some civic duty, encourage them to get out there and sign up.
I think it's just under $100 for the day to, when you work the polls, and I think Dr. Daniels sent that information on to our principals, so hopefully we'll get some of our students to work the polls. Last week I was at a meeting, and our own Benny Edwards was the guest speaker, and I did not realize that was him. He's the gentleman that sits out in the front here at Grile and greets our people and makes sure they have their badge on, their safe visitor. But he spoke about the Martin Luther King Club, so I got to learn a little bit more about him, his background, and what the Martin Luther King Club entails. So that was nice to hear. He has another life besides working here at Grile. I also got the opportunity to go to volunteer at BizTown with Washington Elementary. I got to do the City Hall, and I had 2 students. I think I had 6 students total, and 2 of my students were both ELL students. One was very limited in his English, and one pretended to be very limited in his English. And but the one who was very limited, he was the mail carrier, and he was just so cute. I explained to him what to do by showing him, this is your retail store, Vera Bradley, and the different places. And once I gave him instructions, he just went off and delivered his mail and knew where to check it and pick it more up. And so he got Citizen of the Day. So I was very excited about that. He did well with his limited English. And those are all my comments for today.
Noah?
Just want to echo what Julie said about the public education. As I sat and watched the video, I thought about, Steve did not go to a Fort Wayne Community School, but he went to a public school in Gary, correct? And then every one of us up here, including our good friend Angela, went to Fort Wayne Community Schools. And every school is represented up here except for one, but we don't have to go too far down the way to see Faye, who went to Northrop. We have Snyder 3 times, Northside twice, Southside, and Wayne up here, and Faye at Northrop. So I'd like to think, we're not perfect, but we're trying and we're doing a lot of good things. And this is a symbolism of the work that Fort Wayne Community Schools does. So thank you to all the people involved in Fort Wayne Community Schools. And move your sign a little bit. It said public schools matter, Ann. So yeah, right there. That was great. So that's it. Thank you.
Dr. Daniel?
Ann and I heard our mayor speak this afternoon at Rotary, and again, hearing him say how important our schools are and how during his current term, his new 4-year term, he'd really like to focus on what we're doing with our primary, secondary, and our post-secondary schools. So we're very encouraged by that. And then after that particular speech, we now have heard that he's battling cancer. So we'd like to support him in this process, wish him the very best, and again, send him thoughts and prayers, because he is a mayor that is wanting to support Fort Wayne Community Schools, knowing that we are such a critical component of our future workforce. So therefore, we wish you the best, Mayor Henry.
All right, and just to echo Dr. Daniel, we lift, their mayor up in our prayers. I want to definitely give a shout out to Memorial Park Middle School and Black Hawk Middle School. Memorial Park hosted the Fort Wayne Community School Middle School chess tournament. Black Hawk got first place, Memorial Park got second place, and Dean, my son, was on he was on the Memorial Park team. So I do want to give them a shout out. They did an amazing job. Dean won 4 out of his 5 games, and the one game that he didn't win was, I think they call it a stalemate. So shout out to them and Thor Whitlock, who is the coach for the chess team there. I also wanted to bring up Benny Edwards again. He actually received an award from the Fort Wayne chapter, I believe, of the Indiana Black Expo as an unsung hero. I just wanted to read just a little bit here from an article that was written. He's a retired U.S. Army reservist who also served with the Fort Wayne Police Department. He is a civil rights advocate. He was recently honored during a Black History ceremony for African American veterans in Fort Wayne. His wife, Cheryl, who is also my SOAR, is also a retired U.S. Army reservist and civil rights crusader. Together, they have led the Fort Wayne Martin Luther King Club for decades. Mr. Edwards is quoted as saying, "I've been for the last 35 years, and one of the things, he has been a member of the Martin Luther King Club for the last 35 years, and one of the things Dr. King always said we must do, must learn to live together as brothers or sisters, or we may perish together as fools." So thank you, Mr. Edwards, for your service. Thank you, Mrs. Edwards, for your service. And then I also just wanted to give a shout out to Julie. I can always count on you for a good read, especially when it comes to advocating for public schools. You always come through with a good read and facts and receipts. And I always enjoy just watching you, give it to people up here and in the paper too. So that ends my comments.
I move we approve, Madam President.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
As the business portion of tonight's meeting it concluded, and no one has signed up to speak this evening, the meeting is